Have you ever had the feeling that something impossible happened just to show you that you were on the right path? That message that arrived at exactly the right time, that meeting that changed everything, or that sequence of events so unlikely? It seemed magical. That's not luck. It's a calling. And in this video, you will discover what impossible coincidences really mean and how they can transform your spiritual life. If you are between 30 and 50 years old, you seek answers beyond the obvious. You feel that something bigger is trying to communicate with you, then watch until the end. We will reveal how to interpret these signs, align your energy, and use synchronicities as spiritual compasses on your path to self-knowledge. Are you ready to decipher what the universe is trying to tell you? There are those who still call it luck. Others say it is a thing of destiny. But the wise know synchronicity is when the soul whispers and the universe responds. That unexpected call, the song that plays exactly when you were thinking about someone, or the book that appears with the answer your soul has been searching for days, this is no coincidence. This is esotericism in movement. It is practical, spirituality revealing its secret choreography. Synchronicity cannot be explained by common logic. She escapes the equations of the mind and delves into the frequencies and energy that govern the behind the scenes of existence. It's as if an invisible intelligence, an ancestral and metaphysical wisdom, led you to where you should be. And the more aligned you are with your deep self-knowledge, the more these signs appear clearly. Coincidence, or is the universe more alive and communicative than we imagine? Anyone who has ever allowed themselves to observe these connections knows that they appear like lighthouses in the fog of doubt. They are like vibrational signs saying, yes, stick around. But it takes sensitivity to understand. This is not superstition or popular mysticism disconnected from reality, but a symbolic reading of the world. Synchronicity is the secret, language of the soul with the cosmos, an occultism accessible to those who have eyes to see and ears to hear. There are those who say that everything happens for a reason, but few understand the depth of this phrase. When we understand synchronicity, we understand that we are not at the mercy of chaos. There is a subtle dance between our internal choices and external events. And it is precisely this dance that reveals that our decisions vibrate beyond time. And each vibration we emit becomes a silent invitation to the universe. To practice this more sensitive listening, you can write down in a notebook every coincidence that seems significant. As you do this, patterns emerge. This is not just introspection, it is vibrational alchemy. Each account becomes a mirror of how the soul is interacting with the cosmic web. It's like tuning the instrument of consciousness to better capture the messages of the universe. A synchronicity diary is more powerful than any generic horoscope. In moments of pain or doubt, the signs become even more evident. It's as if the universe is saying, I see you, you are not alone. And it is in this invisible embrace that the therapeutic power of synchronicity resides. A power that comforts, that guides, that awakens. A reminder that there is order even in apparent chaos. Here the subtle conspiracies between soul and cosmos manifest themselves in the form of encounters, words, and even silences. And if the signs are so clear, what did the ancients know about it? How did ancient civilizations interpret these impossible coincidences? Perhaps the answer lies precisely where we least expect it, in the eyes of the gods, in the webs of destiny, and in the stories that have survived time. Ancient civilizations did not see destiny as something fixed, but as a living tapestry, woven with invisible threads that connected past, present, and future. For the Greeks, the fates spun the lives of mortals with firm hands and eternal eyes. In Hinduism, karma was the universe's response to the vibrational quality of human actions. Each culture, in its symbolic language, recognized that life was governed by a superior intelligence, an esotericism that had no place in books, but rather between the lines of existence. The ancient sages knew that what we call chance is often the manifestation of spiritual laws that the common mind does not yet understand. In the Tao, everything flows in harmony, and to resist the flow is to suffer. This deep understanding of destiny leads us to realize that each choice, each thought, carries a vibration, and this vibration shapes realities. This is where practical spirituality finds its most powerful point, in the present moment, where the future is seeded with consciousness. Imagine if we all lived with this ancestral consciousness. If we understood that destiny is not a pre-written script, but a mirror of our vibrational state. The idea of destiny then becomes a portal to deep self-knowledge. It's not about predicting tomorrow, it's about cultivating today with purpose and clarity. When you vibrate in coherence with your essence, reality begins to conspire in your favor, subtly but powerfully. The ancient masters did not teach about destiny to create fear or submission, but to awaken responsibility. They knew that to understand destiny was to understand the power to co-create. This is where popular mysticism with deep roots comes in, translated into myths, rituals, and symbols. All of this was code for a greater truth. Life responds to the soul that vibrates in truth, a teaching that still resonates, even amid the noise of the modern world. In practice, you can begin to study these traditions. Read about the Bhagavad Gita, delve into Greek myths, or simply observe the cycles of nature. Each source holds a clue, each culture brings a key. And these keys are not exclusive to priests or initiates. They are accessible to everyone who seeks with an awakened heart. It is accessible occultism that rescues the soul from slumber. And when we look at destiny with this ancestral lens, we realize that it is not a prison, but a path that reveals itself step by step as we walk with courage and listening. It is a dance between freedom and direction, between intention and surrender. And this dance continues, driven by greater forces, as if something beyond the visible was still orchestrating encounters and revelations. But what happens when these revelations go beyond the rational and touch an invisible space shared by all humanity? What if there was a common field where these spiritual messages were recorded, echoed, and replicated in different souls, as if we were all connected by invisible threads of meaning? Carl Jung, this modern guardian of the soul, went beyond the limits of psychoanalysis when he proposed that there is something greater than the individual unconscious, the collective unconscious. An invisible field where all of humanity's experiences, symbols, and archetypes are stored. It is in this psychic ocean that synchronicities sail, like symbolic messages sent by the soul itself to guide our steps. Jung understood that these significant coincidences are direct expressions of spiritual language. Imagine that the human mind is like an antenna. The cleaner and more in tune, the more it captures these hidden messages that float in the collective field. Coincidences don't come about by luck, but because something inside you has aligned with a universal truth. This is where deep self-knowledge becomes essential. The more you know yourself, the more you understand the signs that the universe sends, and the less you get lost in the illusions of the ego. For Jung, archetypes such as the sage, the hero, the shadow are eternal patterns that live within each of us, even if we have never learned them. They appear in dreams, in mythologies, in the stories we love, and also in synchronicities. When an external message touches something deep inside you, it's not for nothing. It's the collective unconscious saying, "Pay attention, this is important." This theory brings us closer to ancestral and metaphysical wisdom in a modern guise. After all, if we are all connected by this invisible field, then each signal can have a collective value, not just an individual one. Life's subtle conspiracies may actually be articulations of the collective unconscious trying to awaken humanity from its spiritual slumber. It is esotericism with a psychological basis, a bridge between science and mystery. Have you ever had a dream that seemed to predict the future, or felt a deep connection with someone you just met? These experiences are not delusions. These are pulsations of the collective unconscious touching your consciousness. To access this in a practical way, keep a dream journal, explore the symbolism of ancient tales, or study Jungian archetypes. Books like Man and His Symbols are powerful portals for this journey. The most fascinating thing is that Jung did not see synchronicity as a whim of fate, but as a manifestation of the alignment between the internal and external world. A dance between the psyche and reality. It's when the invisible touches the visible, and if that happens, can we use these synchronicities as spiritual guides? Signs that indicate not a predefined path, but possible directions, based on our inner frequency. If the soul could speak in words, perhaps it would say, "Follow the signs." But since she doesn't speak like us, she communicates through synchronicity, not as an oracle that dictates destinies, but as a gentle guide that shows possibilities. These magical moments happen when we are in harmony with our inner purpose. They are not impositions of the universe. They are subtle invitations to delve deeper into deep self-knowledge and act with awareness. Think about how your frequency changes when you are inspired, light, at peace. It is in these moments that the signs appear most clearly, because synchronicity responds to your vibrational field like a spiritual mirror. If you are in a hurry, lost in the noise of the world, you may not see the signs. But when you silence and align yourself, life begins to whisper guidance. This is where accessible occultism reveals itself, in the practice of being present, mindful, and vibrationally whole. A practical tip? When you feel like something coincidental has happened, stop. Take a deep breath. Ask, what does this want to show me? You can use oracle cards as a tool for reflection, not as predictions, or simply write about it in your journal. The key is presence. This is practical spirituality in its purest form. No dogma, just connection. When experienced carefully, synchronicity stops being random magic and becomes a steering tool. Instead of forcing answers, learn to observe. The flower does not force it to bloom. She feels the right time. Likewise, signals do not come when we demand them, but when we flow. Popular mysticism teaches this in the stories of faith healers, in the advice of grandmothers. Listen more to what is not said. It is this attentive silence that allows synchronicity to guide without frightening, without controlling. Just drive lightly, and it's worth remembering. You don't need to understand everything right away. Sometimes the signal doesn't make sense until weeks later, or months, and it's okay. Ancestral and metaphysical wisdom teaches us to trust the journey, even without a map. The mind wants guarantees, but the soul wants expansion. So following the signs is more about trusting than knowing. It's like walking with a flashlight that only illuminates the next steps, and still following. The subtle conspiracies that occur between the mind and the cosmos can only be perceived by those who are vibrating with the heart. It's not about predicting the future, but about being so present that the future begins to reveal itself spontaneously. That's the beauty of esotericism. It doesn't give you all the answers, but it teaches you to ask the right questions. And each answer, when it comes, pushes you closer to your essence. But what happens when we confuse a true signal with an egoic desire? How to distinguish legitimate intuition from illusions created by the anxious mind? Is every sign really spiritual, Or does the ego sometimes disguise itself as a guide? Not every internal whisper is the voice of the soul. Sometimes it's just the ego screaming disguised as wisdom, and that, my dear, confuses even the most experienced. This is why we need spiritual discernment, because the mind is an expert at projecting wills as if they were divine revelations. True synchronicity carries peace, lightness, coherence. The illusions created by the ego are accompanied by anxiety, haste, and an urgency that pushes rather than guides. How many times does someone say, "That's a sign," just because you want to justify an impulsive choice? Or because you're stuck in a fixed idea and every detail becomes validation? Real esotericism invites us to pause before following any message from the universe. The first question should be, is this coming from intuition or from my neediness? The ego is a master at distorting symbols to serve its own interests. Deep self-knowledge is the antidote. It works like a radar that separates what is a legitimate signal from what is a mental projection. A simple practice. When something seems like a sign, wait 3 days. If the message remains alive, clear and coherent, it may be real. If it loses strength or causes discomfort, perhaps it is just a desire in disguise. Meditating, writing, and talking to someone you trust also helps to clarify this distinction. In popular mysticism, older people said, "Not every bird song is a warning. Sometimes it's just song." That sums it up. Life has poetry, but it also has logic. Accessible occultism teaches us to listen with both ears, that of the heart and that of reason. When both confirm the same signal, then yes, it's worth trusting. Before that, it's better to wait, because the soul is patient. The ego is the one in a hurry. Another common mistake is looking for signals as a form of control. People who consult synchronicity like those who consult the weather, expecting guarantees. But true practical spirituality doesn't offer control, it offers connection, and connection requires surrender. The universe is not a delivery of answers. It is a field of energy and frequency that responds to the internal state of the questioner. Therefore, clearing the ego is an essential part of the process. Want to work out? When you think you have received a signal, notice whether it leads to expansion or closure. Signs of the soul open the chest, liberate. Signs of the ego contract, create fear, create obsession. This simple test can avoid many mistakes, because following a false sign can take you away from your true path, and the price for that is often high. This is why life's subtle conspiracies only reveal themselves to those who walk with humility. And speaking of humility, there is a secret key that great masters have always carried: knowing how to wait. Not everything will be revealed now. Not every sign is for you. Sometimes silence is the greatest teaching, and that is precisely where the next step in this vibrational journey begins. Living in sync with the universe is more art than technique. It's like dancing to music that only the heart hears. To achieve this, there are simple but profoundly transformative practices. The first of them, the presence. Being here now with your senses awake, because signs don't scream, they whisper, and those who live distracted, running, worried, lose the magic. Practical spirituality begins when you choose to slow down and observe with soul eyes. Keeping a synchronicity diary is one of the most effective tools. In it, you write down dates, events, feelings, and possible meanings. Over time, patterns begin to emerge. It's like deciphering the secret code of your journey. This exercise reveals much more than curious events. It reveals the energetic frequency you are emitting and attracting. Esotericism applied in everyday life, in the palm of your hand, with a pen and courage. Meditation is another pillar. It doesn't have to be that rigid monk posture. It can be a silent walk, a mindful bath, or even cooking in full presence. The important thing is to make space to listen to the invisible. Ancestral and metaphysical wisdom teaches us that the universe talks to those who silence their minds. And in this silence, the signs become clear, the paths light up, and the soul dances to the right rhythm. Living with purpose is also key. It's not just about big missions, but about small actions with intention. A coffee delivered with love, a choice made with truth, a word spoken with conscience. When you live with purpose, the universe responds in sync. He understands that you are ready to co-create, not just react. And then the signals stop being random and become regular. Gratitude is the frequency that opens all doors. When you give thanks, even without understanding, you come into harmony with the flow of life. The universe loves grateful hearts. It's as if saying, "Ah, you understand." The game, and then more signs appear, more directions reveal themselves. Gratitude is popular mysticism disguised as kindness. It's a light but powerful spell. Practice being grateful even for the pains, as they are also guides in disguise. Another principle is coherence. Your outer life needs to reflect your inner truth. There's no point looking for signs if you live out of step with your essence. The energetic field only responds clearly to those who vibrate with authenticity. If you lie to yourself, synchronicity gets messed up. But if you live your truth, the universe recognizes you as an ally, and he starts to guide you with love. And finally, remember, it's not about controlling the signs, but about recognizing them. Synchrony is a gift that comes when you are ready to receive it, not when you demand it. It's like a butterfly that lands on the shoulder of someone who knows how to wait. And in this waiting, the ego becomes silent and the soul flourishes. But there is one last key that few really live by, a virtue that transforms everything. There is something profoundly transformative about simply accepting that we don't know everything. Humility is not weakness. It is pure wisdom. It is recognizing that no matter how much we study esotericism, delve into practical spirituality, decipher synchronicities, or vibrate at the highest frequencies, there are still mysteries that are beyond human understanding. And accepting this with an open heart is one of the greatest acts of spiritual power. Not every sign is for you. Not all silence is empty. Sometimes the universe is just teaching you to trust without proof. Life's subtle conspiracies often go unnoticed by those who live with the arrogance of wanting to control everything. But for those who live in surrender, even what seems like absence becomes a guide. This is why humility is the gateway to true, ancestral and metaphysical wisdom. It puts us in the right place, at the center of being. Opening in turn is keeping the heart unarmed. It's not demanding that the signs come in the way we expect. They can come in a child who smiles, in a butterfly that crosses your path, or even in an unexpected cancellation. When you live with openness, you understand that the universe speaks through everything, not just spectacular coincidences. It is in this state of broad listening that the deepest signals manifest themselves. And do you know what blocks all of this? Expectation, the anxiety of wanting answers now in our own way at our own time. But accessible occultism teaches us that the time of the soul is not the time of the clock. The time of the universe is circular, spiraling, mysterious. Knowing how to wait without despair is a rare virtue. Whoever develops it flourishes. Those who ignore it get lost in their own mental noise, thinking that the universe is silent. Practice not knowing. When something confuses you, tell yourself, "I still don't get it, and that's okay." This simple phrase opens portals. It's like saying to the universe, "I trust you," even without signs. And then they come. Because the universe loves confident hearts. It's a question of frequency. When you vibrate humility and openness, you become irresistible to cosmic wisdom. The universe approaches those who respect its mysteries. This humility also brings lightness. You stop trying to prove something, trying to decipher everything all the time. You just live, and by living truthfully, the signs come by themselves. It's as if the universe said, "Now you're ready to listen." Popular mysticism speaks of this in the stories of those who wait all night for the sound of the forest, and only hear it when they stop looking. The answer lies in welcomed silence, and then, when you least expect it, synchronicity happens. Not because you demanded it, but because you allowed it. Because now you live from the center of your being. And when you live like this, reality responds with poetry. And maybe, just maybe, this is where impossible coincidences become inevitable.